Right, this is just going to be a quick video about two people, Roger Hayes of the British Constitution Group and Brian Gerrish of the UK column. Right, how you know they're CoIntelPro. Now, CoIntelPro is short for Counter-Intelligence Program. I'll give you it in its historical context. The Black Panthers. They'd set up some Black Panthers who wouldn't really be Black Panthers, they'd be undercovers, and they'd start slagging off the other Black Panthers, or they'd be paid by the state like informants type thing. They'd start slagging the other Black Panthers off, start making up rumours like saying that one of them was sort of like cheating on his wife, or he was, you know, this type of stuff. Cause loads of problems. Everyone thinks, why would they be causing problems in any organisation? They must be telling the truth. Not telling the truth. Causes problems, causes rifts, creates division. Right, that's one type of CoIntelPro. There's many others. Like, I'll give you an example. You've got another, I don't know if she's MI5, but I do know she's a CoIntelPro agent. There's a woman called Belinda McKenzie, lives in Highgate in London, North London, near the station. And what she does, for instance, is she lets activists stay at her house, right? So these activists go and stay there, and then she basically finds stuff out about them and basically makes sure they never get anywhere. So, for instance, Jim Fetzer, who's got a radio show, very interesting, had some excellent bits of internet radio off Jim Fetzer, especially Phil Jahan and Larry McWilliams, also some of Greg Hallett's early videos, not his later videos, like the ones back in 2010 or before. Some excellent videos you get up there. Point is, so what she'd do is he'd come over to stay, and she'd say, I'll organise, get loads of people down to your talk. Gets to London, flies all the way over from America. No one's at the talk apart from the people who he's got to film it. And she's like, oh, no, the other activists, they said, they let me down. Nick Colostrom often goes around there to do talks now. Nick's a bit dozy. He's a national treasure. He's probably a genius 10 times over. But the whole point is he's got this blind spot and he's a bit stupid when it comes to certain things. Goes around to Belinda McKenzie's house, of course. If you do a talk around her house, it won't be recorded like any of his talks should be recorded. He's a very, very knowledgeable guy, a national treasure, as I said. Thing is, what they'll do is they won't record it, so then only like five people will see it, and 5 of them will be sort of like, sectionable fucking, basket cases, and the other 5 of them will be MI5 agents, and no one important's going to see it, right? So a lot of people were fooled by her, and I don't know if they've taken in by it, but you see, another thing, for instance, she did was she had a firm called Iran Aid, not a firm, it was a charity, and then she stole all the money out of the charity. The Charities Commission investigated it, referred it to the police, said it was fraud. Police didn't do anything. She stole, I think, £15 million or something. She just stole it. So you see, this is all obvious signs they're working for the government, or they got government approval. Now, I'm not going to say what budget they get paid out. I don't know that. I don't have to know everything about everything to call foul on something, but I am calling foul on it. It's highly suspicious. Anyway, right, so you've got that one. Then you've got CoIntelPros. It can take different forms. Now, one of the things is as well, they'll slag people off and they'll sort of start rumours. Another thing, what they do, especially with a lot of the people who are very concerned about people getting children stolen by social services, so they disappear off the radar. There's a lot of concern about that in the country, and what they'll do, for instance, is they'll put something on the internet that's being subject to a gag order, because stuff that's been in the family court often gets a gag order, and then the next thing they'll do is they'll start publishing something, then other people will publish it, thinking, well, if they're the linchpin of it all, if they haven't got any trouble, I can, or I can repeat it. Next thing, that person will be getting in trouble for talking about something that's got a gag order on it, but they'll just allow that website to stay there with it published. You see, they do all sorts of stuff like this. It's all just dirty tricks. It's the state setting up a pretend opposition against itself so it can be crushed at any time because the leaders are all co-opted. Now, the reason you can tell Brian Gerrish is CoIntelPro is for 2 reasons, right? Now, I don't know if Brian's an evil guy or whatever, or he's just been paid to do his job by the government. He used to be in naval intelligence, so, if you're in naval intelligence to start off with, and then someone thinks you might be doing something doing intelligence, I don't think it's that hard to really guess. And I think he's got a slightly checkered past. I think it's quite hard to find out things about his past. But the point is that he was obviously in the Navy. Then he makes up some fairy story about what happened when he left the Navy, because he makes out he was doing quite well financially. Now, I don't believe he was doing quite well, because David Noakes, who used to own the UK column, who started it, says that he was completely on his arse and he didn't have any money. Now, he's making out he's like a successful businessman, but David Noakes thought he's completely on his arse, didn't have any money. Now, maybe he did have money and that was all part of the trick and he was doing that at the start, but that David Noakes said he used to actually have to give him some money to run the paper out of his own pocket. He was paying him just enough to sort of keep him floating by, because he said he'd be very useful for it. Now, this is the thing, right? The reason, and this is the only thing you need to forget, don't be confused by anything else I've said, which maybe I shouldn't have said. Brian Gerrish was supporting commercial liens. Commercial liens have no precedent in this country. They've never been successfully used for anything. Brian knows this very well, and Brian was still saying, oh yeah, commercial liens, and also the guy called Mike, I forget his second name, who edits that UK column, in inverted commas, he was also banging on about these commercial liens. And quite hilariously, he said that this guy called Michael Dougherty was the one who put these commercial liens on. Michael Dougherty has got nothing to do with commercial liens, I can tell you that for now. And then, you see, other people turned up at something that he was doing in a court to do with issuing a summons for private prosecution. They thought he was putting on a commercial lien or something. So, you see, they're obviously telling people, oh yeah, go down there. And these people think, oh, bloody hell, commercial liens. They've got no precedent. Mike and Brian say they have. Right, now this is where it gets worse. They know full well they don't work. They know it well. They lie about sort of court hearings and stuff that have revolved around these apparent instruments of just bullshit. It's just a load of bullshit that don't exist. Right, now, it gets worse. Roger Hayes went on this program that was actually aired on some kind of random, very obscure Sky channel, and it's also, you can listen to it again on the internet. There was this company called Edge TV or Edge Media TV, and he went on that one year at Christmas, and he said, oh yes, if your children have been stolen from you by the state, you can put commercial liens on people. We have lots of success. Didn't say who you put the commercial liens, and just said you just put them on people. Doesn't explain what the logic was. What on earth would it have to do with your children? And they've been taken off you by social services. Absolute bollocks, right? He knows it doesn't have any effect now. Just before he said that, Brian had been asked. This is Brian Gerrish. He'd been asked, is there anything you can do if you've had your children stolen off you by your state for no good reason? By the state for no good reason? He said, no, absolutely no. If they want to take your children, they're just going to take them. There's no proper due process. The court system's completely bent. They just take them. There won't even be any rationale. They're just shameless. And then Roger sort of talks over him and said, yeah, put a commercial lien on them. And then he says, contact our organisation and we'll put you into touch with the right people. Now, when I know who set up at his company, at their little free radio is, right? So it's been financed by that Kitchener's great niece, I think, or maybe niece, but I think it's great niece. And she's apparently she's extreme. She's getting sort of senile. She's really racist, right? And she just basically wants all the blacks to be killed. So they have to sort of keep her away from a lot of their audience. But she gives them all their money. And I know that Roger Hayes was getting 500 quid a week off them as well. Now you've got to remember with Roger Hayes is he does tell a few porky pies right now. In one of his best pompous speeches, he goes, "I've retained my house. I've retained my business. I've retained my car. I've retained my..." And he goes on like this, my house. And he never retained his car. Somebody gave him a new one. He had to get rid of it. So he lost that when he went bankrupt. Or did he go bankrupt? Because there's a bit of a question over that. Because he said he didn't. And when they were going to the thing, you have to go to court for them to say, right, you are bankrupt. In 9 months, you won't be bankrupt. Or in a year, you won't be bankrupt. He goes, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And they're like, well, don't you want to be discharged? You idiot. Right, and if you go onto the official receiver's website, you can actually look up the bankruptcy petition. So I don't know whether he's just going to constantly never not be unbankrupt. I don't know how it works. But the point is he transferred his house into his wife's name. a guy called, I forget his name, so I think it might be John Hurst, gave McCarbon like permanent sort of hire, loan sort of thing for free. And the UK column gives him £500 a month, or were giving him £500 a month. So they were saying, no, all our money comes from like loads and loads and loads of people give us money, like loads of people just give us a bit of money. That's complete rubbish, right? I don't think they're getting as much, well, I know they're not getting as much money as they used to, but the point is that they're getting basically their money from this crazed old racist senile woman. It's quite funny, and they're very, very jealously guarding that secret, right? So anyway, but the thing is, so Roger Hayes is even worse, because I mean, listen, there's one thing having a little bit of a laugh with just people who are just diddling around, and they're like in their middle age, having a midlife crisis. They just want to do things to rebel because they didn't do it when they're younger. But when people's children have been taken off them, for rightly or for wrongly, and I think often it might be rightly or it might be wrongly, you shouldn't be, you can't go around saying, do a commercial lien. No, don't go to court and put a commercial lien in, threaten them, say they owe you £1 million. It's the most fucking stupid thing ever. But the point is, because Ryan's good at telling the truth about lots of things and then just lying about one thing, it can kind of trick you, because you think, well, why would he lie about that? Everything else has been 100% reliable. And it's complete rubbish. He had me for a while, because I thought, but it didn't ever quite gel in my head. It didn't quite make sense. But I thought, what is he up to? And eventually I realised, but I know this for a fact now. This is a fact. It's never been used. And he says it has. And he even talks about court cases and stuff, which never happened. So I also have it on good authority that there was a circular sent round in the courts, and I think I've actually seen it, saying he must not be allowed at any court cases as a Mackenzie's friend, because what he does, if you're a Mackenzie's friend, you're not allowed to talk. You're allowed to whisper maybe in person. You're not really meant to talk at all. You are not allowed to address the judge. You are not allowed to start arguments with the judge. You're not allowed to do any of that stuff. You're not allowed to cross-examine the judge. You're not meant to cross-examine the other parties. And the other thing is, if you have a couple and children at stake, both of them have a solicitor, right? Because sometimes they might think that they're on the same sort of side, but obviously they might have slightly different interests. So, like, let's say one of them wasn't going to be allowed to see the kids, maybe the other one would. So, they've got a slightly different interest in these types of cases. And he was apparently like, but you see, the whole point is that if you go into the family court cases, the law has slightly changed now, because you're just not allowed to say the names of the people, but you're allowed to say what happened, I believe, sometimes. But the whole point is they're subject to gag orders. So what was happening is people going to these court cases, he was making a complete hash of them, because what he was doing is he was getting to the pre-agree and say, look, if they won't accept me as your Mackenzie's friend, we all just walk out. So people can have their kids taken off them, probably anyway, go into the court case, walking out. The court case goes on without them being there. I mean, it's funny because it's so absolutely outrageous. That's what he was doing. And then they'll say, but you've completely fucked us over. You've fucked the whole thing up. And he'll go, oh, you're not allowed to say anything. Go to prison. So, he's completely off the wall, like bad behaviour, like you will not believe. So I don't know what he was playing at there. I mean, I think he does like arguing. He does just do it for, divilment. But at the same time, I do think he's working for someone else. I don't know. And lots of the things in his past don't make sense. Like, I'm from Medway. Medway's what they now annoyingly call Gillingham and Chatham and Rochester and stuff. They don't call them their respective names. They call it Medway, right? He's from, I think, Chatham or Gillingham. No, he's from Chatham, right? And one time I said to him, oh yeah, because he put it in a video. He said, oh, I'm from Chatham. Now I remember lots of, because I'm from there, I remembered it. And I said, oh yeah, you're from Chatham. And he was like, oh, how do you know that? How do you know that? And it's like, yeah. Like, why was he so, there's some secret there. And I don't know, because I just said it to him, because I didn't know whether it was true or not. I go, yeah, I know about you and the Kent Messenger and the Freemasons. And he was like, how do you know? And I was like, I don't know anything about it. I just said it. So somebody said that there's some kind of history there. So I think he's probably a Freemason. And I don't know the ins and outs of it, but lots of things that Brian said, like he'd be probably come across like he'd be anti-Freemason, like he'd think they were a subversive force, but I think he is actually one. Roger Hayes obviously got a Freemason haircut, the bits around the side. you know, but I don't know if he's a Freemason or not. He's a very pompous idiot, that's for sure. But I don't know, definitely. So you've got Belinda McKenzie definitely working for the government, and not a good part of the government. Not everyone who works for MI5 is bad, are they? Probably, but you know, if you're working against the public, you know, that is bad. And Brian Gerrish and Roger Hayes. Roger Hayes actually done an amusing video about me with this guy called Chris Jarvis. Now, Chris Jarvis, to say he's a nobody would be a sort of an understatement. This Chris Jarvis is very two-faced. Because when I did this radio interview about Brian Gerrish and explaining how I knew he was a CoIntelPro and not to be trusted, a disinformation agent, there was this woman called Melanie Spencer or something, and then there was this guy called Chris Jarvis who was like helping her interview me, and this guy kept cutting in over the top of me. Now, they've done a superb editing effort because you can't actually see that on this video, but that she did. I think it was, I forget what it was even called, this show, but anyway. Then he's gone on to Roger Hayes and he's phoned him up and he's recorded the call. Now at the start, Roger goes, "Now, Chris, you're not recording this, are you, Chris?" He goes, "No, Roger, I'm not recording it." And he's got this really fucking weird northern accent. I can hardly understand what he's talking about. And then and then he goes and puts it up on the internet, and it's like almost an hour in total because there was 2 parts of it. And basically, about 20 minutes into the first episode, they just start slagging me off, calling me all sorts of names. It's absolutely hilarious the way they're talking. It's really, really funny because they're just really, really angry and they haven't actually identified anything. They're just going, "He's a twat. He's a total twat." They're just going, they're not actually saying why. It's very funny. I'd recommend it. It's you look at it on YouTube, you get Roger Hayes conversation 7th September 2012. In parentheses, part 1, end of parentheses, and that's on Chris Jarvis's channel, and that's Jarvis. As I said, it's at like 20 minutes in, 21 minutes in, and they just start unloading all this negativity about me, but they don't really explain why they've been so negative. It doesn't last for very long, but it's good. It's good, like 3 minutes of swearing, just 2 Northerners just getting very, 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 very angry. It's fucking hilarious. I'll watch it. Whenever I want to laugh, I just have a little listen to it. So I'd recommend that one. All right. Any questions or any more information about this? I'm not really having any interest in these people anymore. I've exposed them. People still want to believe and not listen to the obvious. You know, like if you say, "Look, he's lying about that. He knows he's lying." It's not like he's passing on false information by accident. He knows it's lies and he's still doing it. You know, that's his credibility gone. They're like, no, he does lots of good work. It's like, well, you're an idiot then. You know, he's lying to you. You still believe him. He's been caught out lying. He can't even just explain himself. He won't explain himself. You know what I mean? If you're stupid enough to continue to listen to him, then that's your own problem. All right, thanks a lot. I've been Tom Cahill. Let me know if you've got anything interesting about it. But as I said, I'm not going to get into. I can't really be bothered getting. It's quite a depressing subject, you know. But it's something interesting. You know, you spend a lot of time dealing with something at one stage. You know, in the future, you have a little bit of a debrief. You know, you sometimes want to go back to it. You know. Anyway, thanks very much.